if somebody would, unless somebody has an issue. Can somebody make a motion that we accept the minutes, please?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Bob. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Health inspection report, I think they had put that in paper form. And I think we all had an opportunity to look at that. Is there any comment on that, Michelle? We don't have anybody else from codes here commenting on that, just other than the list of what they did, which we all got.
Ed is here if you have any questions.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I saw that they had 108 inspections, 19 rechecks, food and related complaints, 17, building and trades walkthrough, 16, SR requests, 21, and animal control inspections, 30. Question, just for my own edification. I know we have an ordinance in Reading, I think we do, that dogs are not supposed to be running free, correct?
Yeah.
You know, is it permissible for cats to be running free? Anybody know?
Well, we picked up our
Well, yeah, we've had some issues with some
Side, yeah.
cats in the neighborhood that are actually owned by someone. They're not strays. Okay,
Oh.
we don't need to talk about that. Let's move on. The coronavirus update. Let me see. I guess we got an attachment from Michael Sininsky, the deputy fire chief, and I don't know whether all of you saw that, but he said there were approximately 5 cases of COVID in the fire department, all minor symptoms. They've all recovered. They have plenty of PPE. That's not an issue. No monkeypox yet.
Yeah.
And they're using some universal precautions to try to mitigate those issues. And then there's a Stop the Bleed class offered to both high schools in the city for their teachers and staff. What is that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anybody know what the Stop the Bleed class is? Is it first aid? Is it a first aid class?
Sorry, I
Lauren,
think it actually is. I'm not even part of this group, but yes. So I think
You are
it's
now, Lauren.
kind of like a first aid.
it's a what?
It's essentially first aid. Yeah, essentially first aid. I think
okay.
it's meant to be like some trying to mitigate, further issues related to injuries. So it's like it's a lot of like CPR plus compression dressing, is my understanding.
Oh, good. That's a good idea. Yeah, all right. Well, we have a saying in medicine, all bleeding stops.
Sooner or later.
Anything? Well, you got it right. Any other comments on the update from the fire chief? It sounds like things are under control. I don't think there are any issues there. We can move on to some old business. We have anything on the lead abatement program? You saw there was a big thing in the paper about the EPA out at the old battery factory in Bernhardt's. What do you have to add, Michelle?
The city is looking at its options there. It's going to either need to remove the dam that's left and rebuild it to current standards, or remove the dam that's left and let the stream take its natural course and rebuild that area of the park. So it's getting some
How is
professional opinions now, and then we'll determine which way it's going to go.
Now, is this, there was a big article in the paper that the EPA was, they have some super fund and they're going to be cleaning up the old battery recycling plant, which is what polluted the area with lead. There was concern that when the lake was drained, that some of the banks and exposed areas that hadn't been exposed before were going to potentially be full of lead. Is that something that the EPA is going to address at Bernhardt's? And how does that interface with what we're doing?
If necessary, the historic data that we have from the testing before did not show any contamination on the lake bed. There is still contamination left on what used to be the islands, which are now exposed a little bit more to humans getting in contact, and with the steep slope that's wooded. So those are the areas that are of the biggest concern. The rest of it has been mitigated down to safe levels for park use.
So will the EPA be retesting that area? Not because I guess nobody's had an opportunity to test since the lake's been drained, right? Or have they?
I don't know the answer to that. Fred, do you have any information on that?
What was the question?
Is
Whether the
EPA going to do
EPA
some
will
more
be doing testing
testing?
around Bernhardt's.
Not that I'm aware of, but they very well could.
Okay. Well, it
As
sounds
the-
like.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any plans, but I think as the dewatering continues, or I think we're probably pretty close to complete. There might be, I assume they would want to take that opportunity. But
Right.
yeah, that's, I could check in with, Dave Ansbach would probably know.
I'm just curious. I don't think it's anything for the action of the board. The eviction moratorium, Jamal's not here today. Is that still going on? I mean, I guess the eviction moratorium is over, but I'm guessing they're probably still working with tenants and landlords. Is there anything, do you know of anything going on there that we need to talk about? Seems like we're over the hump there, I would hope. And then another issue of the old business was when we, just for those of you who may not know, when COVID struck back in March 2020, we didn't have the kind of information that some other counties had who had their own health department. It's a long story, but now the county commissioners and people were kicking around the idea, and they had some meetings of whether we would meaning Berks County, would want to form our own health department. We do have a Department of Health by virtue of the state has an office down on Cherry Street, but it doesn't do as many things or function as widely as some of the counties like Lehigh or Northampton County, who have very well-staffed health departments. I know Dr. Kelleher was involved with some of those early discussions, but I don't know whether any of those are ongoing. So unless anybody else has any information on that, I do not. Which brings us to new business. And we have two guests today, Caitlin Kemmerer and Lauren Camp. And explain to us how you're involved or what your role is in this health survey, and tell us all about it. That's what you're here for.
I'm sorry, Dr. Dadoff. We talked earlier about moving the mold issue first because of Jarrell's
Okay.
conflict, his schedule conflict. If we could
Okay,
do
I'm
that.
sorry, I didn't catch that. Yes, okay, let's do that first then. I guess, you want to give us the background, Michelle, of how this came up? And
Sure. Several weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, we had several citizens make public comment at a city council meeting with some concerns about mold in rental properties. And so council talked about that very briefly and then punted over to the Board of Health. And I learned just today that Jarrell has already started doing some research so he can get the group started on where that may or may not head.
okay, now, did you say Jarrell was going to be here today? Oh, hi, Jarrell.
He's here. He's
You're
worked as
showing
Ed.
up you're showing up as E. Blankenbiller. That's why I was a little confused. No sound. I understand Jarrell had done a little bit of snooping around at looking at some issues on lead. I spent about an hour this morning looking on the EPA website about lead issues and found that there are no real good guidelines for testing, like, spores in the air. There are no official guidelines for that. And it's not clear to me, they talk about how mold could be bad for people who are particularly sensitive, who have allergies, who have asthma. But I'm not sure that all people are necessarily affected horribly by mold. The EPA says when you see it, you should remove it. They talk about it all being related to moisture. But I don't know where you begin on trying to craft guidelines, and because every little speck of mold you don't have to worry about. Let me see, is Jarrell with us today yet? Not yet. Okay. you want to try logging off and logging back on? They're gonna do that. Does anybody in the audience here know anything about mold?
Can anybody
We
hear
all know
me?
what it is. Pardon?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we
whoever
can hear
just
you,
spoke.
Charlie.
All right, I'm gonna
Oh,
let
that's
you
Charlie,
use my
yes.
computer.
We
There you
can't
go.
see
Okay.
you, but we can hear you.
Oh, how about we do this? Put the speaker on. There you go. Open this up.
There we go.
There you go. Have a seat there.
great.
Gerard. All right. So this did come
Jarrell,
up.
thank you. First of all, thank you for doing some homework and looking some of this stuff up. Share with us what you've learned.
Yes, this came up a couple weeks ago. I think based off the council notes aforementioned. So pretty much I couldn't find any other places in PA. I picked about 4. I looked in Lancaster, Harrisburg, Monco, and Lancaster County. No, excuse me, Lancaster City, Harrisburg City, Allentown City, and Montgomery County for any like mold order. Can you mute that, Ed? Yeah, can you mute that? It's echoing. Or just, yeah, just get out of it. So in those 4 cities, I couldn't find anything had to do with mold. And the reason is because the reason I believe is because usually the mold is due to a source of moisture. And in our property maintenance code, and I'm assuming these other cities, they already have certain codes addressed or built in to address the moisture issue. And addressing the moisture issue and the interior surface violations, aka mold, should usually handle the whole issue with mold from start to finish. I don't really see any benefit to adding mold language to ordinance, calling mold when we have codes already in place to address the underlying issue, which is moisture.
As I said, it just didn't seem, unlike, you can put, something out, and measure your radon, and you can put something out and you can swab and measure your lead, and these all are well defined as far as what's acceptable. But like I said, you can't do a spore count. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'd be happy to write something up and get back to them, but I'm just not sure how tenable it is to, I don't know how you can make a set of guidelines and say this is the threshold.
Yeah,
I think
that's
if
a
you
good
get
point.
called in because somebody sees mold and there's water, but I still don't understand. I mean, I've known people who, their basement gets flooded, like 8 inches, and they end up ripping up all the wall, and then it dries out, and they end up ripping all the wallboard out the first 2 feet and replacing it. I mean, I would think that once the moisture goes away, the problem, and it's behind the wall. I don't know whether people overreact to mold, or, I mean, I know you can get sick from it, but I just don't know how you publish guidelines.
Exactly.
Anybody have any ideas?
So the EPA and the Pennsylvania Department of Health doesn't have any federally recognized guidelines as lead does. So we don't even have a threshold. So us testing the mold spores or to identify the mold would be no benefit to us because mold is mold. It doesn't matter what kind of mold. If it's indoor, if it's interior growth, it needs to be rectified. It doesn't matter to find out what kind of mold it is.
Right. Yeah, all the EPA said is if you see it, remove it. Oh, and if you see it, there's no point of trying to do any tests for it.
Right, it's unnecessary.
If I could add something real quick, though, I was on complaints for a lot of years, and a lot of the mold issues themselves was just cleanliness, not opening windows when you take a shower, mildew buildup underneath the kitchen sinks because you get condensation when you have hot water in the bowl of the sink. It's just almost 90% of it's cleanliness issues on the tenants or the homeowner.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, if somebody complained and you went in and you saw a wall that was wet and there was, literally black mold all over, I mean, you don't need to do any tests. I could see where you could just say, no, you need to remediate that.
Right.
I mean, we used to have a shower that was, we had an exhaust fan, but for years, we didn't realize it wasn't actually vented to the outside. And we'd have to repaint the ceiling every 3 years because you'd always get a little mold on it, but now we don't. And, I didn't freak out just because I saw a couple specks of mold. So I don't know where the threshold is and where you get where you really get concerned. All right, I don't know if there's much more to speak about there. I don't know where else you'd even find any. Dr. Schwartz, if you happen to run into one of your pulmonologist friends sometime, in the halls or something, just, ask if they'd have anything to add on the subject. I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned, I was just trying to think, even for us, when people come in and kind of complain and they want us to do testing, like there's nothing I can do here. I mean, there's like home kits people pay money for, but at your point is that the crux is the problem with the moisture. So as long as there's a avenue for tenants and people to, complain to get that remediated, I don't see the point of adding things we can't really test for.
Right. Yeah, tell them to stop smoking. That'll help. All right, well, I think that's probably kills that topic. So can we go on and then talk about the health survey?
Can
Yes,
I
Michelle.
can I ask one question? Jarrell, would it be helpful for you as staff, as you move forward through this, to have a statement from the Board of Health supporting that position?
For council?
For council, for the managing director, however, Jamal, whoever you're reporting to about this issue, would that be helpful and supportive for that, your position, not to add it?
Yeah, I can't see why we can't write a memo or something, right? That's
Okay.
me. Cool.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh, you guys will write one?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, so if Dr.
Yeah, no,
Dadoff is
I
okay
could-
with
I
that,
could-
we'll
I could
get,
write something up.
We're gonna write positions.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can write that up.
all right, great.
Okay,
Excellent.
good. Okay, well, let's hear all about the health survey.
We could.
I'd love to give Caitlin a chance to introduce herself and say hello, because she might, our team is going to be present at the night out tonight, and so she may need to scoot out and join them before this meeting is
Okay.
over. So I'm going to kick it over to Caitlin to say hi first.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Cameron. I'm the project director for the Advancing Health Literacy project here at the city. This is an amazing experience to work on this project for me. Last 3 years, I've been a face-to-face health and wellness provider with one of the local health organizations. So seeing that our goals and our deliverables are to educate our residents here on COVID and make sure that they have materials that are ready and available, to educate them that are also culturally, linguistically appropriate for them. Many a times I can hand a client or person a pamphlet, say, hey, go home, read this, come back, we'll talk about it. And they didn't read it just because they don't understand it. So that's part of our grant, to help educate our residents that meets them where they are at their level, so that they can make the best informed health decisions as well. And then that's kind of my role here, is I am the day-to-day person working between our independent evaluator, Reading Area Community College. Then we also are working with Penn State College of Medicine, and they will be doing community health worker trainings and organizational assessments, which I will then flip over to Lauren to explain that. And then we also have a partnership with Latino Connection, which is a multifaceted health marketing company that's based out in Harrisburg and does a lot of work with our community here. And they are our people on the street, face to face, doing these surveys, learning about our community and what their needs is when it comes to education and understanding COVID as a whole, vaccines, and any hesitancies that they may have. And then I'll throw it on over to Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. I just wanted to make sure you had your moment to shine in case you had to step away. So thanks. So my position, I'm the director of health equity based out of City Hall and specific to this grant. My background is actually in global public health, and I did a little mid-career shift and decided to become a nurse. I graduated in 2020, so that was great timing. And before joining this project, I was Yeah. I was an oncology nurse at Lancaster General before stepping into this role. So this grant is, like Caitlin said, it's so exciting. We have such a great opportunity to really make a difference here in the city of Reading. This award is a $3.9 million award that came to the city of Reading through the Office of Minority Health. And it's funded using COVID relief dollars. So everything that we're doing kind of through this lens of looking at COVID, but obviously, as Caitlin described, some of these health literacy topics, the implications stretch far beyond just how we view COVID and our COVID response. As Caitlin described, we are working in partnership. So we've got subject matter experts and our independent evaluators, and as she mentioned, the Latino Connection kind of doing our direct community engagement piece of the work. And the city of Reading is sort of building our own in-house capabilities to do this type of health-related programming. And I think that's, one of many huge value adds of having this award and starting this type of effort is that, we're learning a lot every single day, and we're hoping that this is a really great start to many more, similar health grants that we can do to help the residents of Reading. Our work is essentially built around 3 pillars. The first one is these surveys that you mentioned. So we have 3 surveys that are in play for this grant. The first just wrapped. So we just finished the first survey, which was a short health literacy survey, just 8 questions, very basic in terms of just getting an understanding of people's health literacy levels. We were blown away by the responses that we were able to collect. So we had a small goal of a couple hundred. We were able to collect over 650 responses. And so we have a really rich data set here now to work with. Starting this month, we have 2 more surveys that will launch. One is COVID specific. So it's meant to help us understand and suss out some of the hesitancy that we know is present within the community, and then also understand what did motivate people to get vaccinated against COVID so that we can leverage some of those points in some of our marketing, right? And the third survey is a more comprehensive health literacy survey. So this is going to be a little bit longer, somewhere around 30 questions, we're thinking. And it's going to take both the health literacy piece, but also allow us to collect information that's relevant to behavior, how people really use and engage with health information and what that means in terms of translating to health seeking behavior. So we're hoping for some really great data around that as well. The second bucket of our activities is going to be around assessing health materials. So we're going to be collecting a sample of health-related materials that are available within the community and comparing those against the class standards, which is cultural and linguistic appropriateness. And then the grant and our team will revise, edit, and redisseminate, those materials to the community so that they, meet the needs of this community and help to spread vetted, accurate information around COVID and other health topics. And then finally, we're going to be doing work around organizational health literacy. So this is going to mean securing partnerships with a handful of health serving organizations right here in Reading and working with them to complete a survey. So this survey is kind of formulated like a scorecard. So it goes through multiple buckets of information, things like policies that are in place related to health literacy, and then other sorts of things that relate to the patient experience within that institution. We'll compile the results of each individual organization's survey results and then work with them. The grant has technical and financial support for those organizations to shore up their capabilities and be better equipped to serve all the residents of Reading. That last piece is actually where I'd love to get feedback from this group, because we're just starting to look at where we might want to partner, what health serving organizations within Reading would be a good fit for this type of work and who might be open to partnership with the city and our grant team. And so any feedback that you guys might have on where we should start, if you have context that might be a good, starting point for us to start conversations and get some feedback from health organizations, it would be so helpful because, we're finding, and this isn't, with everyone, but we are finding that there is some hesitation with partnering with the city. So we have a little bit of work to overcome some of that. And so we'd love your feedback and connections on where we might be able to seek partnerships. And, these organizations, the health serving organizations, can be large or small. We kind of want to get a sampling of different size organizations so that we can, see what that data looks like for different, sizes of organizations. So, and that's kind of the overview. I'd love to hear your questions and feedback.
My first question, it sounds as though this is mostly emphasizing their understanding and knowledge about COVID. But you said the third survey kind of expands. So are they going to be trying to figure out whether people really know that you shouldn't smoke and that maybe being obese isn't so good and the wrong diet isn't so good? Or is this pretty much focused on COVID?
That's a great question. So of the 3 surveys, there's only one that's really focused on COVID specifically. The other two, so I'll give you an example. The first one that we just finished is 8 questions. And there's sort of 2 elements to it. So each question is asking the participant to pronounce the health-related word. And so we're measuring to see if the pronunciation is correct. And then we're giving 2 options. So we love using the first question as our example because it's like so fun. So the first one is kidney. So can you say kidney in either English or Spanish? And then you are given 2 options. So does kidney most closely relate to urine or cotton candy? So it's just sort of trying to figure out. Yeah. And it's not cotton candy, but it's urine and something.
I knew that.
Never remember.
I knew that.
The second one is. And so it's basic, it's just trying to understand really the core of health literacy, which is the ability to understand and use health-related information. The second health literacy survey is a little bit more comprehensive in that we're getting into things like, do you have someone to go with you to medical appointments? And do you feel that you have access to information that you can use and understand? Do you feel confident in the decisions that you make around your health? So again, not specific to COVID, but we're tracking these types of indicators and comparing against COVID outcomes and trying to make those links.
As far as partnering with anybody, the only thing I can think of offhand is it might pay to talk to the Berks County Medical Society. About 6 years ago, they did a really wide-reaching survey. It was headed up by Mike Baxter, but that survey was mostly about availability and problems with lack of entry into the health system. So some of it would in fact dovetail with what you're doing. So there might be some interest there. That would be a thought. Anybody have any other ideas? We don't know. I don't know that anybody on this board would be familiar with companies that do surveys or anything like that. I certainly am not.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Could we take it to our neighborhood meetings that we have? Because we have a group in the Northeast area that we have, just a get together once a month. Could we present something to them? Or is that just
so I think
Absolutely.
we're spreading the word about what we're doing. Absolutely. And I think, very specifically, the feedback that we're looking for is like contacts within health serving institutions. So if there's a clinic within the boundaries of Reading, what would our first stop be and who would our first cold call be within that clinic to help get the partnership conversation going? But certainly everything about this grant, we're trying to get the message out far and wide. So, you're welcome to share with your networks, whoever those might be. We're going to very soon have the opportunity to share a link. So the second health literacy survey will be available online, and we can share those links, with this group through Shelley, so that it's shareable, and you can spread those through your network. Everyone is welcome to respond to those surveys.
if
I'm
you
sorry.
haven't already, it might be wise to talk to Dr. Kelleher. She works down at the health clinic at 11th and Rockland. And that clinic, she tends to see more, not indigent, but I mean, you can come and talk to the College Heights group, but I'll tell you right now, there's nobody there that doesn't understand kidney. It's, you know, it's a different group.
Sure.
I'll
sure,
tell you what
yeah,
I'd be most interested, the easiest way for all of us to understand what these surveys are about. I would like to take we should all take these surveys at some point when you have the opportunity.
we would love that. Yeah, and
That's the best way for all of us to know what it's about, I think.
I will put a star next to that and make sure that you all have the link to complete the survey on your own, and then you can give us feedback and let us know what you thought of it.
Okay.
You know, if
And
it
by
was
the
too
way, I
long,
don't
too
need a
short,
$10 gift card.
okay, but you can get one if you want.
No, I'll pass. Thank you. Somebody needs it more than I do.
So
All right, well,
Lauren,
that's
are
great.
you
Any
looking?
other?
Yeah, can I just ask, Lauren, are you looking for specific contacts like the Berks Community Health Center, and Penn State Berks has their facility at 6th and Walnut? Are you looking for things like that, doctor's offices, or are you looking for other kinds of contacts, or both? Because I guess I'm not sure how you're finding people to take the survey, because that was a piece that seemed like it was missing for me too. What is Latino Connection doing to find people?
So
Great, yes. Yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Caitlin.
sorry, just because I'm gonna go run and meet them. Right now, Latino Connection will be they've been doing a local vendor for local other events that are going on throughout the city. They did a bunch of First Friday. I think First Friday was one of our big hits with a lot of surveys. Where they completed almost about 100 surveys just on First Friday. So with a lot of face-to-face and going into the community. I believe we're in the process of organizing bigger events where this can be the lead. And we're just going into bodegas. We are setting up tables within pharmacies that Latino Connection does have a network of. And then other places that there are going is a lot of the smaller health serving organizations. So it's not necessarily a doctor's office, but it's maybe something similar to like SAM, where you can get case management services. And there we're looking to go to the trusted source. For me, growing up as a child, hey mom, my scratchy throat hurts, you know? And mom's my first doctor. Mom's like, oh, well, let me look at it and we'll call the doctor. We're looking to get in with the organizations and the people that say like, hey, do you think I should take this Bruce to the doctor? Well, like, yeah, hey, here's some information. Oh, you're not feeling well. Did you get the COVID vaccine? Here's some information that you would understand, and then you can make your educated decision there. But most of our surveys are face-to-face right now. And our Latino Connection is in the community, working right alongside our residents here.
Great.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
great
keep us posted
clarifying.
on how things are going. You're welcome to come back to any and all future board meetings to give us updates and to see if we can help you in some additional way.
That's great. Yeah. And I understand that you meet every other month. By the time your next meeting rolls around, we would have some really valuable data that might be interesting to this group. And so we can either share that as part of the meeting or just give that ahead of time for you just to reference. But we're really grateful for the opportunity to jump in and give you a little information about the
All
work that
right.
we're doing.
That sounds exciting. Anything else on that issue of the health survey? There are a couple pending items which I don't think we have any action on. The health code amendment. The lawyers are working on getting that there are a bunch of stuff need to be redrafted and bring up so that it dovetails properly with, I guess, the state regs. So that stuff's all under legal review, and we don't have any action for today. Is that correct? All right, and I think we have come to the end of the agenda. Is anybody have anything for the good of the group? I want to just complain about something. Stay away from the monkeypox. I don't know if that's gonna turn out has there been any monkeypox? Dr. Schwartz, you haven't seen any monkeypox, have you?
We're good right now, but let's not jinx it, so.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I mean, initially they made it sound like it was like crazy hard to, transmit. But now I know there are a couple kids who came up with it, and I've heard some discussion about whether you could get it off of bed sheets or pillows, and that sounds a little different than saying it's very difficult to catch. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not expected to be, like you said, huge, but at the same point, like, so just making sure everybody, providers and people kind of know the red flag, not, letting it, fester, but
Right.
hopefully not.
I did read somewhere that those of us, and there are getting to be fewer and fewer, who had vaccinations to smallpox, that it may confer a little bit of immunity there.
Mhm.
So I got the scar on
Yeah,
my arm.
that's true.
They don't do that. I know they
Yeah, you're
still do polio for children, but they don't do smallpox anymore, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
All right, so unless
No.
there's, I guess the next meeting, if we usually do the first Tuesday every 2 months, so that would bring us up to October 4th. So unless there's an issue there, why don't we just pencil that in if we have to change it? And if there's something burning, some burning topic comes up, we can always call a meeting and it's easy to do that with Zoom now because nobody has to travel. So we're gonna set that for October 4th then. Is that okay? You don't know of any issues, Shelley, do you?
No, nothing at
All
this
right.
point.
All right. Well, then may I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, second. All right. Okay, Bob, get back to chasing those squirrels.
Yep.
Don't forget the
I
ice
actually
cream.
found a pig today.
What's that?
I said I found about a 200-pound pig today on North 10th Street.
A pig?
Oh, man.
Was this wrong? Do you think somebody had it in their cellar or something, was raising it and it got loose?
I was using your
Who knows?
speaker, I think.
Oh, my.
All right, okay.
Now
We'll
stick it
see you in
around
2
with the
months, gang.
I don't know why my speaker